Hey folks, it's October, so it's the perfect time to talk about one of the Sonic franchise's most well-known characters, Tails Doll. Tails Doll remains a complete oddity. To date, he's only ever been a playable character in one game, and I always sensed that SEGA were ready to treat him as a one-off, disposable character. But more than any other Sonic character, he's been shaped and moulded by the Sonic fanbase and has remained popular, though for reasons outside of SEGA's control and influence. Join me as we discuss this lovable little orange scamp's complete history, from his video game appearances, comic book appearances, and of course we have to address all of the rumours, urban legends, and internet spookiness surrounding this cute little doll. We'll be engaging in some internet archaeology and taking a peek at some really archaic stuff here to try to get to the bottom of the Tails Doll curse. As always though, let's start at the beginning. Tails Doll debuted in Sonic R, which we'll talk about in just a second, but he wasn't actually originally designed for Sonic R. You see, in 1997, Yoshitaka Miura joined SEGA to work as a background artist on Sonic Adventure. He designed the plush targets that appear in the first stage of E102 Gamma's story. One of the plushes is this cute little Tails plush. Of course, Sonic Adventure ended up releasing later than Sonic R, but there was some crossover during the two games' development cycles. People at SEGA liked Miura's Tails plush concept enough to use it as the inspiration for Tails Doll as he appeared in Sonic R. Although more than likely unrelated, a Tails Doll was also used a couple of times in the old Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon from 1993 to try and trap and ensnare Sonic. Neat. That brings us to Sonic R, a racing game originally released for the Sega Saturn in 1997. It's a game I've owned on 3 different systems, if you can believe it. I was such a Sega fan in 97 that I asked my parents for a Saturn for my birthday, a decision I regretted when I admired my friends' PlayStations and N64s. I had Sonic R for the Saturn, then got one of those cheap PC discs of the game years later, and finally enjoyed the game again when it reappeared in Sonic Gems collection for the GameCube. I have a soft spot for Sonic R. The game's concept sounds promising, but the execution is flawed. It's an on-foot racing game starring Sonic & Co. racing through fully realised 3-dimensional environments. With impressive graphics for the time, an awesome soundtrack and plenty of different modes, Sonic R had the potential to rival Mario Kart 64 back in the day. But the gameplay left a lot to be desired, with the characters being hard to control, making for a frustrating experience. The game's replay value also drops when you consider there are only 5 courses, which is a lot less than Mario Kart 64. What Sonic R did have was plenty of unlockable characters. The base roster included Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose, and Dr. Robotnik. Everyone except Amy had unlockable counterparts, including Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, Egg Robo, and Tails Doll. Tails Doll can be unlocked in the course Radical City. Come first in a race while also collecting the 5 Sonic tokens scattered around the course, and you'll get the chance to face off against Tails Doll. Beat him in a one-on-one race and he'll become playable. Tails Doll isn't a particularly great character to play as. He has poor handling and he's quite slow, but he's able to float over water without deceleration, which is a decent perk. There's no doubt that Tails Doll was intended to have a bit of an air of mystery around him. The Sonic R official guidebook, for example, describes him as a robot created to look like a stuffed toy Tails, but follows this up with a question mark, casting doubt on the doll's origin and nature. The guide also says the doll floats around the course emotionless, and almost as if it's remote controlled. The Japanese Sonic Channel website also has a profile for the doll. It reads, "As a last resort, Eggman manufactured this to catch Sonic unprepared. This, except for the power plant embedded in its head, is a mere stuffed animal, whose meagre form nevertheless exhibits considerable ability in races due to its lightweight design." Sounds like instead of creating a menacing Metal Tails variant, Robotnik decided to create something that seemed less threatening to try and trick Sonic somehow. Before I go any further in this video, I'll say that back in the 90s I honestly never got a scary vibe from Tails doll. I might be in the minority here, but if anything, I found him kind of cute and endearing. But ultimately the legacy of Tails doll has been determined by fans who thought otherwise. In case you hadn't heard, Tails doll has become rather infamous on the internet, being the centre of a number of different urban legends owing to his perceived unnerving aura. Have you heard, for example, about the Tails doll curse? There's a few different variants of this story around, but the main one goes a little something like this. A man came home from work with a gift for his son. He'd picked up a new video game for him, Sonic R. It was a racing game, and when he gave his son the gift, he was so excited to get it and play it right away. That night he played the game with his son and they had a great time. A couple of days later, the boy was almost finished with the game. His dad was there in the room when he beat the last boss, and he roared in excitement when he finally did. He smiled and asked him how he liked the game as he watched the credit screen. "What's that?" he asked the boy when the Tails doll appeared on the screen. The boy said it was the Tails doll, that was all he knew. He told his son it was time for bed. During the night, the curious father went into the boy's room and turned on the TV very quietly to play the game for a while himself. He noticed that he now had the option to play as Tails doll. He chose him to tag up with some of the gang. The game was fun until he tagged him with Sonic. The screen went black when the game system shut itself down. The man decided it was time for him to go to sleep since he had work in the morning, so he crept out of his son's room and went to lay in bed with his wife. At around 2 a.m. he woke up when he heard thumps on his door. He assumed it was his son getting up to ask him to get him something. He told the boy to stop, go back to bed. The thumping kept happening, and at one point he noticed a little shadow coming from under the door. Tails kept popping into his head. He got out of the bed and slowly opened the door. Then he heard someone say this very softly, "You're coming with me forever." It was a doll, an evil, blood-covered, possessed little doll. It was the doll from the game. It had to be. According to Know Your Meme and the Creepypasta wiki, this Tails doll curse story originates from Rebecca G, who appears to have submitted it to Urban Legends Online in 2012. The thing is though, rumours and legends surrounding Tails doll go back a lot earlier than 2012. Around 2008, for example, you'll have seen talk and rumours that playing tag mode as Tails doll and tagging 4 other characters causes one system to crash, resulting in a real-life curse. Funnily, there's even a video from 2009 on YouTube debunking this, but rather oddly, Tails doll isn't celebrating on the victory screen, but just floating there aimlessly. Similarly, people have long reported strange glitches like the Sonic R track Can You Feel the Sunshine playing incessantly over every course when playing as Tails doll, a track that's become intimately associated with the lifeless doll. Urban legends and dares circulated stating that if you sang Living in the City, another Sonic R track, backwards in your bathroom at night, you'd summon the doll. It was also in 2008 that the immensely popular Flash series Sonic Shorts debuted on Newgrounds. Each episode functioned as a collection of bite-sized animations rolled into one. It became something of a Sonic Shorts tradition to sneak an unsettling Tails doll Easter egg into every video. Sonic Shorts Volume 2 has a particularly creepy Easter egg that's become closely associated with Tails doll's more demonic side and no doubt influenced later creations like Sonic.exe. Being an internet sleuth, I was desperate to try and find the origin of all of this madness. Where did it start? After all my digging, I think I have an answer. It seems that with the announcement of Sonic Gems Collection in 2005, came the start of rumours about a Tails doll curse, courtesy of one Quacker Duck on his now defunct website, Quacker and Bowen, from sometime around April 2005. In 2005, the site added a page which offered a brief review of Sonic R, but lingered on Tails' doll, sharing a dark theory that if you stare too long into the eyes of the doll, it'll feast on your eyeballs. Over the course of 2005, the page was regularly updated with fan submissions detailing their own stories and theories about Tails' doll. I think a lot of these stories are sourced from the Mobius Forum, an old online meeting place for Sonic enthusiasts. If you want to see lots of different variants of the Tails doll curse story, have a look at this page on the Wayback Machine. It's after this webpage surfaced that different versions of the curse story spread far and wide across the internet. What's fascinating is that there's this one piece of Tails doll art from 2004 on DeviantArt. The initial handful of comments from 2004 are innocuous, but after 2005, the curse references start up, further earmarking 2005 as the start of this trend. The thing is though, even prior to 2005, you'll find discussion and jokes about Tails doll being a creep. I'm not sure if anyone watching remembers the Green Hill Zone. It was one of the best Sonic websites in the early 2000s. Tails doll's off-putting nature was a bit of a running joke on the Green Hill Zone, and you can still find a discussion thread from the Green Hill Zone asking their fans if they think Tails doll is creepy. And this is from 1997. So yeah, it's kind of awesome that this tradition goes back to the very year that Tails doll debuted. What a legacy to have. In this day and age, the subgenre of inversion horror where seemingly innocent things designed for younger audiences are inverted and turned into something really creepy is immensely popular on the internet. And Tails doll really slides into that trend perfectly, which might explain why Tails doll has remained one of the Sonic series' most well-known characters. What's really interesting is how fan interpretations of the character have influenced how official media have portrayed him. After all of the Creepypasta infamy, Tails doll started appearing in a long-running Archie Sonic comic series in 2011, and these creepy influences were evident right away. He makes his first major appearance in issue 231. He's sent by Eggman on a mission to New Mobotropolis, but gets leveled by the gigantic Titan Metal Sonic and is found disheveled by Cream the Rabbit. Cream assumes he's just a doll and takes him, hoping to return him to his rightful owner. The doll is passed on to Cream's mother Vanilla for safekeeping, but the doll starts causing some weird goings-on. It emits a strange energy sphere, causing buildings to start toppling over, for example. During an attempted invasion of New Mobotropolis, the doll's protocols kick in, and it helps Eggman by destroying the city's shield generator with the nanite disruptor in its head. Tails doll also causes some mayhem at a concert. He's brought along by Cream, but sneaks off and causes an onstage explosion. When Cream attends the dedication of the rebuilt Castle Acorn, she finally connects the dots. The doll disappears again while an energy force nearly brings the castle down. Cream figures that every time this doll goes missing, something disastrous happens. Cream runs her suspicions past Rota, and they hatch a plan. They leave the doll on Cream's bed and pretend to leave, thus catching the doll sneaking out again by himself. They catch it going to a power plant, and that's where things get crazy. Tails doll transforms into a full-on Lovecraftian monster, tentacles and all. Tails doll's story is disrupted a little because it's here when the second Genesis Wave event happens, which wipes out a whole bunch of Archie's characters for legal reasons. But that's a story for another day. When we catch up with Tails doll again later, we find it attacking Mobotropolis in its monstrous form. The creature is tough, but Tails uses another program to disrupt the doll's systems enough for Sonic to deliver a fatal blow, destroying the creature's exoskeleton and retrieving the doll from inside. Sonic snaps the control crystal off the doll's head, smashes it, and boots the doll into the horizon. That's not quite the end of Archie Tails doll. Much later, Eggman creates a version 2 of the doll, this one designed as a spy. The doll sneaks aboard the Sky Patrol, the Freedom Fighters' aerial base of operations, and uses its inbuilt cameras to keep tabs on the Freedom Fighters on behalf of Eggman. Nicole, a living AI, discovers a digital version of Tails doll when scanning the Sky Patrol system, and confronts it in one more weird and haunting moment. Nicole is rescued from digital oblivion when the doll is found in the real world and destroyed by Rota, thus ending the Tails doll Archie saga. Archie definitely leaned quite heavily into the haunting Tails doll characterization popularized by all the creepypastas. If this wasn't already evident, take a look at these short off-panel comic strips for another glimpse at Archie's monstrous Tails doll. In the past few years, SEGA has taken a shine to Tails doll because he keeps popping up in little cameo moments. All the way back in Sonic and the Black Knight, in the fan art gallery, some ambiguous art of Tails doll appears, drawn by a fan. Is this a hint at his scary nature again? In Metallic Madness Zone in Sonic Mania, Eggman's Gacha Pandora machine can unleash tiny little Amy dolls, whose look are definitely inspired by Tails doll. Tails doll has also cropped up in the Minecraft Sonic DLC in Tails Laboratory, where he's nothing more than an innocent plush toy. He's also cameoed in the LEGO Dimensions Sonic Pack 2, appearing briefly in Marble Zone. LEGO Sonic has this to say about Tails doll when interacting with Peter Venkman from the Ghostbusters.
Hey, a Ghostbuster! I saw this creepy doll that kinda looks like my friend Tails. Think you could take a look?
Tails doll has also appeared in the ongoing IDW comic book series too. I'm a fan of how most classic characters have been portrayed by IDW, and Tails doll is no exception. To date, he's only appeared in one story, in Sonic's 30th anniversary special issue. In the story, a flashback shows Dr. Eggman rebuilding Heavy King from Sonic Mania and falling asleep all cozied up with a cuddly Tails doll. Heavy King runs an override program to take control of Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, and Tails doll, who proceed to throw Eggman out of his own base. Tails doll is a little less cuddly when he's utilized as a spy, following Amy through Spring Valley Zone. It's classic spooky stalker Tails doll stuff again. I do like how his eyes have been used as camera lenses in both IDW and Archie. It's a nice touch and suggestive of his robotic nature. Anyway, Sonic and Eggman end up teaming up to storm Eggman's old base and end up battling Tails doll and his robotic buddies. The doll makes a creepily snake-like entrance to attack Eggman and Tails. He's quickly reprimanded by Eggman, letting off a hilarious squeak as he's grabbed, and spends the rest of the story as a cuddly toy again. The IDW comics are full of meta-humor, and Tails says he needs to ask the question we've been wondering for decades: why he got a cuddly, creepy counterpart rather than a cool robotic one. I've always felt that the IDW writers just get Sonic, and I love the IDW run so far. This appearance by Tails doll is perfect, playing up both his cute and his eerie side without overdoing it. As I alluded to before, Tails doll's legacy has kind of outgrown his depictions in official media. Pretty impressive for a character who basically only appeared in one game until recently. Animations, fan art, fan games, stories, there's so much stuff about Tails doll out there, and most of it leans to the horror side of things. We really need more cute Tails doll stuff out there to counterbalance all of the creepiness. If you were like me and always thought Tails doll was a purely innocent little thing, let me know in the comments so I know I'm not the only one. Thanks for watching, have a suitably scary Halloween season, and hopefully I'll see you next time.